My fellow Americans, in the time of terror and economic crisis, a new America is needed. The old America is falling apart. Reforms and important decisions need to be made to resolve issues that are hindering this country from focusing on the well-being of ourselves. We need to define ambiguous views to have a clear understanding of what we as a nation believe. Not just any party can come to a conclusion for the rest of us. That is why the exemplary ticket of Ravi Muska and myself is the correct choice. For those Americans who are unfamiliar with me, I will tell you a little bit about myself. I'm currently serving my second term as the governor of Nevada. I am happily married with one son. But that is enough about my personal life. The real reason I will be elected is for my political views, where I stand now and how I will lead this country into the future. First off, I would like to discuss my views on the environment, more specifically on global warming and our oil dependency. Global warming is nothing more than a hypothesis that humans are destroying the climate by the release of greenhouse gases. So much money goes into this market, and so many jobs are created and destroyed from rules and regulations. I think it is important to straighten things out. Scientifically, it has not been proven. All current computer models are too inept to predict future climate changes. These predictions are based on computer models, not by evaluating historical data. The models process the data that the user inputs with, which often leads to biased results. If we all of a sudden rush to fix this imaginary problem, there are going to be casualties. To reach the goals set by the Kyoto Protocol would require higher energy taxes and regulations, causing the nation to lose 2.4 million jobs and $300 billion in annual economic output. Average household income would fall by $2.70, and state revenues would decline by $93.1 billion due to less taxable earned income and sales. Also, lower property values. All to reach our goal in the year 2100 to drop the temperature by 0.14 degrees Celsius. Now, if we don't rethink our plan, the sole idea of global warming would defeat us. I would like to mention a recent article published by my friend Harrison Schmidt. Harrison is a former astronaut who shares my same views on global warming. He says scientists are being intimidated if they disagree with the idea that burning fossil fuels has increased carbon dioxide levels, temperatures, and sea levels. Too many scientists are losing grant funding when they haven't gone along with the political consensus that we are living in a world doomed by human-created global warming. These words are very unfortunate. It is no doubt the global warming scare is being used as a political tool to increase government control over American lives, incomes, and decision-making. Global warming has only taken into account the effects of pollution on a global scale. While pollution may have no effect on a rising or falling temperature, it does have an effect on those directly in contact with hazardous conditions on a local level. It is in a report released by the Blacksmith Institute and Green Cross Switzerland Foundation. The localized pollution is a leading contributing factor to disability and diseases in communities around the world. It is seen in America around oil refineries or nuclear mining and uranium-rich communities. For example, in Manhattan, New York, it is planned to be less industrialized, pushing more industrialization to the outer parts of the city. This lowers the quality of the living conditions for those who reside in the outer city. Laws, regulations, zoning, and politics are to blame. We need to help people stand up to their cities and states to help create laws to promote environmental justice. Oil is one of the Earth's most valuable resources. We as Americans are the leading consumers of oil at over 20 million barrels per day. Over half of that is imported from other countries. This shows how dependent we are on those other countries. Anything reasonable we can do to decrease our dependence should be done. That is why I strongly support drilling in ANWR. Of the 20 million ANWR acres, we are only looking to explore about 2,000 of those. That is 0.1% 0.01% of the land will be occupied by drilling platforms. The main reason such a strong percentage of people are opposed to drilling is because of the idea that it will disturb the calving ground of the porcupine caribou. Scientists have also developed innovative techniques such as directional drilling that will have virtually no impact on wildlife. With support from every governor, senator, and representative in Alaska for the past 25 years, I think this is a great opportunity that cannot be ignored. I would like now to call your attention to two very controversial topics, cloning and gay marriage. I do not support either. Cloning is scientifically and morally wrong. Taking away from natural evolution may be possible, but when it is not necessary, there is no need for it. For example, Dolly the sheep took 277 attempts to clone successfully. Constantly inbreeding animals to have a successful clone takes away from the variety pool of genes and increases the risk for deadly mutations. Cloning really serves few practical purposes in our society. To say it could be used for spare parts would be no different than using your next door neighbor as those spare parts. Laboratory-created organisms are not for us to mess with. Natural reproduction should remain the sole method for animal and, for that matter, human reproduction, leading to the idea that man and woman is how marriage should be. The laws of this country are built upon Judeo-Christian worldwide views, which has defined Americans' culture and how the world views America. For the hundreds of years we have been a nation, we have kept the sanctity of marriage between a man and a woman. If same-sex couples are allowed to marry, it would take away from what we know best. We want to value what has worked, what is best for a man, woman, and most importantly, the children. The special place we hold marriage up is already under assault just by looking at the divorce rates. Why should we deliberately degrade it by allowing gay marriage? It would degrade the idea of marriage not only to us but to our culture as well. We have had the same values since the beginning of this nation. If changed, we would lose dignity and respect from the countries around the world. I would like to conclude this address by talking about assault weapons, the Second Amendment, one of the most cherished amendments in our country. Previously, I've supported the amendment to the letter and was against any changes or additions. The assault weapon, however, the ban should be reinstated. The term assault weapon is usually interpreted with no clear definition. There are characteristics that could effectively ban the weapons most commonly used in crimes and unpractical purposes. Looking at some statistics, an unpublished 2004 study commissioned by the United States Department of Justice has found that assault weapons were used in 2 to 8% of gun crimes prior to the ban. Large capacity magazines also were covered by the ban, accounting for 14 to 26% of guns used in crime prior to the ban. Following implementation of the ban, the share of gun crimes involving assault weapons declined by 17 to 72% across the local localities examined by this study. I don't have time to read off the other studies and statistical data, but consistent numbers like these have persuaded me to rethink my views on the Second Amendment for the better. My views are not personal. They are shared by the Party of New America. Rational and proposed to improve life for Americans, we have built a platform to stand on that defines us and what America should strive to be. Thank you.